Hello everyone, welcome to Edvancer. In this first video of the course, we'll start with exploring RStudio, that is the platform which we'll be using for programming in R. Once we are done exploring with RStudio, familiarizing ourselves with RStudio, different parts of RStudio, we'll start with some basics of R in this particular video. We'll see how to create an object in R, how to properly choose a name, although there are close to no restriction on how can you name objects in R. There are few and we'll learn about them. We'll learn about these objects which can hold single data values, and these single data values can be of three types. There can be numeric data such as numbers, decimals. There can be character data values such as names, names of customers, names of cities, any categories, and so on. Then there are single logical values such as true and false. So we'll learn about how to create these objects and how to put in these kind of values in those objects. Okay, let's start with exploring RStudio. You'll find these this icon, blue ball icon, doesn't matter whether you are on Windows platform or Mac platform, the icon will look like this. Click on this icon. Those who have installed R along with RStudio, there is a separate icon for R which comes with its own GUI which looks like this. We are not going to use this GUI that you see titled R console. We are not going to use that. If you haven't yet installed RStudio, please do that, and the icon for the same will look like this as I've shown you before. Let's explore this. If you're using RStudio for the first time, this is how it looks like. Let's start by talking about these different windows that you see here. The first window that you see on the left side is console. You can write your single line codes here. For example, at the very basic thing, let's say we want to write 4 plus 5 and the result is displayed as 9. So of course you can write few more complex one-liner codes also once you learn about them, but this is not a good practice for coding. In this particular course, we'll prefer that you write your codes in a script. So where to get that script from? You see that plus green icon on top? Just click on the drop down. You'll get various options of different kind of programming files that you can open. We will focus on our script here. We'll learn about the rest of the files as we progress in the course. Okay, so click on our script. That will open an untitled script here for you. You can save this. The name untitled one will be there until you save this somewhere. Let's say click on Control S or Command S depending upon which platform you're working on. And let's say I want to save it on my desktop. Name it test.r or anything else. Let's name it first.r. Yeah. Although that's not a good naming practice to start with, you should give it a meaningful name, as in, say you're working on a project, then which part of the project this particular script refers to. You should name it that way. This being the first script, I've just named it like this. So now in this script is where we'll be writing all our codes. Okay, let's let it be there, and let's talk about other windows that we see here. The one on the right side top has two tabs, environment and history. Environment is where when you create an object. So let's create an object. We are going to name it as simple as X. Let's give it some value, 5. Okay. Oh, that's not a good practice. I should write this here on the script, right? So X equal to 5. Let's select this and run. So that part got executed, and you can see here in the environment tab there is this object named X is created, and it contains value 5. Okay. Now in the history tab, you can see these various, since I have been using RStudio for quite some time now, there are a lot of arguments, a lot of code that I've run. All that history is there. By clicking on the broom icon, you can clear this history. Okay. Yeah. And of course, as we progress in the course, we will create far more complex object, and this window will start to fill up. Sometimes few objects are very large in the sense that they contain too many values, and it's not possible to show all those values in here in this environment tab. Then you will get a brief of about that object. Okay, and that will make more sense once we create those complex objects, so have patience about that. Yeah. Now the tab that you see on bottom right contains, these different tabs. Files is same as your file explorer on your machine. You can browse around and see all these files there. Although you'll be able to see all these files, for example, in here I'm looking at one docx files and CSV file and so on. But it's not that you'll be able to see some video files and presentation files and whatnot. See, I can see a presentation file here, but all of them will not open in RStudio. Okay, so if there is a video file and you can see it here in this environment, if you click on that, it will not open in RStudio. It might open in a different separate application of its own. What you can open in RStudio is R script files and CSV files, and other kind of reports that you generate with RStudio. Okay, so let's go to a folder where I have scripts which will be working on in today's session. Here it is, and this is the R fundamentals.r script is which we are going to work on in this video. Okay, fine. Now we'll come to this script definitely. First, let me talk about rest of these tabs that we see. Plots is tab where all your visualization plots are going to appear. So let me show you one plot. Don't worry about the code that I'm writing here. We'll learn eventually how to make sense of these codes, but for now I'm just going to create a simple plot and show you that this appears here. Okay, you can zoom it and see by clicking on the zoom button, and if you want to save it somewhere, you can export it as an image or as a PDF. You can copy it to clipboard also, so that you can paste it on your reports or in your presentations. Okay, then the next tab is packages. So those who are coming from Excel, R is very unlike programming language such as Java or C, which are very generic programming language. You can build whatever you want using those languages. R is specifically built for data analysis. Okay. So, and in some ways it is, at least to start with, can be compared to Excel, wherein for each task that you want to do with has a function assigned to it. Similarly, R also has a lot of functions for you to use, and you don't have to write extensive code for every little thing that you want to do with R. Okay. Now sometimes these functions are fairly advanced and are not part of the basic R installation which you download for the first time. So these advanced functions come bundled in different packages depending upon what advanced task that you want to perform. Okay, how can you install these packages? First of all, you get a list of a lot of packages which come with the basic R installation. You can create additional install additional packages by clicking on this install button. This window will open, and let's say I want to install a package, say VCD. Yeah. Now once you start to type in those names, you can see the drop down appears for all the available package with that name. Let's say this is the one I want to install, and click on install. You can see here in some time on your console this install.packages command appears, and this package is being downloaded and it got installed, and you're done. Nothing else you need to do. So this is how easy the installation of packages is. Okay. Help is where we can look for the documentation of different R functions that we just talked about. We will explore this when we learn about more and more functions in R. Okay. Viewer is where when you are creating reports with R, those reports can be viewed here. We'll be looking at it once we reach to that part of the course where we are creating reports. Okay. Of course, you will. This is just first look at our studio. You'll get to know about more and more functionalities as and when we get to do more complex things with R. Okay. So let's begin with programming in R. As we said, we'll be talking about object assignment in this object creation, so to say, in this video. In fact, without realizing, we have already done that once. See here, we wrote x equal to 5. We created, by executing this part of the code, we created an object x which contains a value 5. That is what you do. You write the object name, put an equal to sign, and then after that the value which you want to assign to that particular object. So x here now stores that value 5. Okay. Before you start to wonder about what these hashes and these lines are, let me tell you, these are used to write comments in your scripts, right? The way I've written here. Yeah. Let's say if you write these free form English sentences in your script just like that, and if you try to execute this, it throws an error because it doesn't make sense to R. This is not part of our syntax. So you can put a hash in here and that becomes a comment. This is something when you execute, it just simply gets printed as it is, and doesn't bother R. It doesn't throw an error. Okay. So this way you can put in your notes, your documentation about the scripts that you're writing and all that. Okay. Coming back to creating objects. So fine, you have created this object. Now when you're writing and actively coding in R, you'll end up creating a lot of objects. What if you lose track of what X contained? A lot of objects you see in environment, and it's very difficult to find where this particular object named X is, which you just created. What you can do is type in X here and either click on this or hit Control Run or Control Enter or Command Enter. This selected piece of code will be executed, and you can see here it returns or shows you the value which X contains. Okay. Next very important thing that we are going to do is we are going to write capital X. Remember, not small x, capital X. And after writing this, we are going to hit Command Enter and we'll see what happens. R says object X not found. The important lesson here is that for R, small x and capital X are two different things. What that means is R is case sensitive. This is very important to remember for people who are coming from programming languages which are not case sensitive, such as SAS. Okay, in R everything is case sensitive, be it values or object names or whatever. You can name your object whatever you want. You can assign them numeric values like that. You can assign character values like that. Remember that character values should always be within quotes. Okay, so this is okay with R. This is okay with R. But let's say you write this. So ABC is, although not a very good choice for an object name, but let's say you did that. If you write ABC equal to, let's say you want this particular object to contain value, say Lalit. This is not correct. This will be considered an R object, and R will throw an error that object Lalit was not found. See here? So if you want any word to be treated as a character constant, character value, you need to put it within quotes. Okay, this is all right with R, no error, and you can see that value Lalit is contained by object ABC. Another important difference from other programming languages, you don't need to define type of an object. Like in some programming language, you need to declare that X is integer or it is a string. In R, you don't need to do that. You just need to write the object name equal to whatever value you want to assign. Okay, and R itself figures out whether it's numeric or character or whatever. Also, type is not fixed for objects. For example, right now X is numeric because it contains a numeric value, an integer. I can now write X equal to Lalit, and it changes the value to a character without a fuss. Okay, so changing a type of the value assigned to an object is not a problem. Okay, now coming, how do we name the object? As I said, you can pretty much choose whatever name you want with only few restrictions. Do not put numbers at the beginning. Okay, you can see here I have tried to create an object which has a number. R doesn't like this and tells you unexpected symbol in blah blah blah. So one rule, do not put numbers at the beginning. You can put numbers anywhere else. Okay, so this is fine. Naming your object this is fine. One more thing you might have noticed by now, that in addition to words and numbers, it also contains two special characters, dot and underscore. You can use those special characters while naming your objects. Do not use any other special characters. Okay, generally you can, it's no compulsion that if name is long you need to have dots in between. There is no compulsion. You can create that object very well. Idea here is that when you're using such long names, they should be readable. So using dots, you just make your object name more readable. That's all. That's the idea. Okay, so it's good that you use dots, but if you don't, well, it's not a big issue. Let's quickly summarize this. Do not start object names with numbers. Do not use any other special characters except dots and underscore. You can have numbers in between object names. You cannot have them at the beginning, but you can have at the beginning. Okay. Also, a quick exercise, or rather I won't call it an exercise, I will, just a part of exploring the R syntax here. Try creating object names which start with dots and underscore. Figure out whether you can, is that allowed or is that not allowed. Okay. Although we have already covered how to, create values with the numeric objects with numeric values. Just write the object name equal to numeric values. How to create with characters in the very same fashion. Okay, how about logical? There are two logical values that we are going to talk about, true and false. So how do you create such objects with containing logical values? Like this, just simply write x equal to true. Remember, all in caps. When true is all in caps, R, it makes sense to R that it's a logical value. Whereas if you write this, x equal to true like this, it doesn't make sense to R. R consider this new true as, a new object name, right? So if you want this to be a logical value, this needs to be all in caps. Now you must be wondering, I don't want to write true all in caps every time I want to create a, an object with logical value. What you can also do is, instead of writing complete true and false, is just the capital letters F or T. And you can see here that x is stored as false. So if you type in x and hit enter, you will see false. Same thing goes for true values also. Okay. We'll stop here.